I want to show you a clip real quick. Go ahead and watch. What? Did you see it? Let's go back. Let's go back real quick. Watch again. Go ahead. What? This is one clip of many. I don't know if I will include any other footage in this video. I kind of intended this to just be rambling, essentially. So go ahead and slap this on your second monitor. You know, I've already warned you. It's going to be a second monitor type of video, unscripted Woolie here. But I want to talk about Risk of Rain 2 specifically with the DLC. Rather, the update that came with the DLC. I've been playing this game since the very start of its early access lifespan. That's no surprise to a lot of you guys. I've been around for a very long time, literally since the very beginning. And ever since, I want to say since the anniversary update, but definitely with the DLC, there has just been something off with the game. And this is going to be kind of a two-part video, if I can contain my rambling as such. But the first part, I just want to talk about the DLC specifically, my thoughts overall on the DLC, and then I want to talk about the game as a whole. So let's start with the DLC itself. Especially for you console players that still don't have the DLC. So you may want some thoughts of someone who's played the DLC now for over a year. I think it's been out for over a year at this point. We're getting close to it if it's not already. It's been a while. I'm really sorry you guys don't have it yet. Hey, console players. I don't know if you can see my squirrel under my arm. I'm sorry if you can't. Hey, console players, boom. Pay your respects for him. Anyway, the DLC, if you like base Risk of Rain 2, you're going to like the DLC. Obviously, but for the asking price, I don't know if it's worth it, man. Honestly, and I know that's kind of weird because I put a couple hundred hours into the DLC. I haven't played nearly as much Risk of Rain 2 as I used to pre-DLC. Since the DLC, I haven't played nearly as much, but I put a couple hundred hours into the DLC at a bare minimum, and I don't know if it's worth it. Seriously, the pros don't necessarily outweigh the cons to me. The pros would be the void items. The void items are a lot of fun to play with. A lot of them are super overpowered. Safer spaces, polyloot, plasma shrimp specifically. You can get a whole... They're really, really good. Void items, for the most part, are always... You pick them up if you see them. Easy. Just that easy. So the void items are cool. That's one pro. Another pro is the design of the enemies, like specifically the aesthetics, because we'll get to the other part of the enemies in a second. But the way that they look, the world, the environments, they all fit within the game, right? Siphon Forest, Aphelion Sanctuary, Aphelion Sanctuary. Stage 3 is Sulfur Pools. Like they all look good. They all fit with Risk of Rain 2. That's all done very nicely. And the enemies, the Void Jailer, the Crab Guy, whatever he's called, the Void Devastator, I think. All that stuff's cool. That's about it. For me, that's about it with the DLC. The items are cool, and the enemies look cool. Like the aesthetic of the DLC is cool. The Railgunner is also super fun. I love the Railgunner. Void Fiend, I'm not the biggest fan of after playing him for some time. I really only play Huntress because I'm at the point where I just want to play what's fun to me. I don't really care about the other survivors. Huntress is the most fun for me. I know that's very different for other people. Railgunner is also fun. Like I'll occasionally do a commando run, a bandit run, maybe a Railgunner run on top of that. So Survivor is pretty cool as well. The cons. The enemy design. The actual attacks the enemies do, the DLC enemies specifically. The Grandparent's not a DLC enemy. The Grandparent's been around since 1.0. Correct me if I'm wrong. It might have been... No, it was the Sky Meadow update. No, they added these later. This was 1.0 for sure. Grandparents. So basically, this is kind of since 1.0. 1.0 anniversary update into the DLC. Around this time frame, but we'll get there. But specifically the Zai construct. The big floating pyramid head that flies around everywhere. Oh my gosh. That, the blind pests, the vermin. It seems like all of the DLC enemies are just grossly overtuned. And you might be typing, this is a skill issue. Woolie, this is a skill issue. No, they're grossly overtuned. Compare a Lemurian to a turret even. Just the turret, the alpha constructs that just sit there. And another thing is, it's not that they're so hard, it's that they're just annoying to fight, right? It's not cool that a blind pest can hit me from half of the map away and do a third of my health bar in one shot. That's not cool. That's not fun. It's just annoying, right? Yeah, it might be a skill issue sometimes. You need to target priority and all of that. Take out the highest threats first, obviously. But it's not fun at the end of the day. It's just not fun. Another big thing is not with the specific DLC enemies, but the enemies as a whole, especially in the early game. I don't know about you guys, but I am so sick and tired of spawning in to stage 1, stage 2, killing an enemy that's I call them world spawn enemies, the enemies that are already on the stage as soon as you arrive. Sometimes you can arrive and then they'll like spawn in. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the ones that you will physically see without a shadow of a doubt. They were there the second you arrived. They give you no money. On stage 1, literally, a lesser wisp, a beetle, and a Lemurian. If you kill them, if they're world spawn enemies, they will give you nothing. They have the same health, the same damage. They just won't give you anything. That's super annoying. On top of that, the AI has just broken for some reason. They're just broken, straight up. How many times have you been walking around a stage? And again, this is specifically with the early game because this is when it matters the most, because just the way that the director system works, spawning the enemies, you need enemies to spawn in right away so you can kill them for money, so you can loot items and progress the stage. Otherwise, you're just looking around. You're just waiting. There's nothing to do, right? So the enemies that are there will just stand there. They'll just sit there. They won't do anything. They will literally just sit there. How many times have you seen this in your run? I know you've seen it. The enemies will just be sitting there. And this is especially a big problem if the enemy is an elite, because those are more expensive. As in, there's only a certain amount of credits that the director has. There's only a certain amount of enemies that can spawn on a stage at a given time. And obviously, these are ranked by difficulty. So an elite enemy is more difficult than a regular enemy. Duh. If you have an elite enemy whose AI is broken, which happens quite a bit, you're eating up like half of the, not half, I know, it's not half, it's not actually half. You're eating up a big chunk of the credits. The stage would otherwise be spawning enemies for you. Number one, it's just more fun. That's my biggest point here. It's just more fun to be constantly engaging in combat of some kind, right? So the fact that there's an enemy, any amount of enemies, let alone an elite enemy, that's just totally broken standing there, it's so frustrating. It's just not fun. And I think that was introduced with the DLC. Again, I can't remember it ever being this bad. It has to be with the DLC. It might have been with the anniversary update. That was the last free update of the game before the DLC. But I'm almost certain it was with the DLC. And overall, those issues just do not outweigh the pros. Most of those issues that I described are specifically with the DLC. Now, maybe the console side of things will be different when Gearbox finally finishes the console edition, because they are building it from the ground up. So maybe it'll be a completely different story. You guys won't have some of the same issues that we've been having. And just going back to clips like this, I won't talk about specifically what I was doing, why this death was especially frustrating for me. But it's just like, how am I supposed to dodge that? Like, what could I have done better in this situation? Please, I'm going to slow this down, okay? So, obviously I see that he's about to do an attack, right? As soon as he does that animation here, this is when he's starting to do his attack. So, watch this. Look at how high up his hand is. I literally can't even see the attack. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong screen, wasn't I? I can't even see the attack that's coming in. I know, as an experienced player, what's about to happen. You'll see me try and react to that attack as well. But look at this. Look at this. I'm dead. On this frame, I am dead. So what is supposed to happen is the grandparent spawns a big old rock in his hand and he chucks it at you, right? There's supposed to be a travel time of this big old rock traveling to come smack you in the face. Bam! Smacks you in the face, right? What happened here? What happened here, bro? It was up here. I'm down here. Huntress is not very big. She's pretty small, okay? Huntress not a big character. What happened? Please, someone explain. I can't. We have to wait for this here. Dude, it's just little stuff like this just makes the overall experience more frustrating because of the issues I just described, right? You're always going to have deaths like this. It's Risk of Rain 2. Like, it's no surprise. Sometimes you're a golem's going to be aiming, tracking you with its golem laser beam, ready to kill you. And then you, are moving behind cover and you think you're good. And then you, 1 pixel of your left pinky toe pops out and he shoots it and you die. You're always going to have deaths like that. It's Risk of Rain 2. That's what we sign up for, right, guys? However, in what universe is this okay? In what universe, dude? Look at this. Again, look at how high up the hand is. It's all the way up here. You could barely see the rock right there. It was like an instant travel time. And again, stuff like this makes the actual experience of finding enemies on stage 1 that give you no money, finding enemies whose AI is literally broken and they're just standing still waiting. The whole point of Risk of Rain 2 was the enemies come to you. The combat comes to you. The action comes to you. You just have to start moving around and looking for your loot and planning the stage out. That was the fun part, right? You could just do your own thing and then have the enemies come to you. You always have something to do. So that is still the case for the most part. The early game is, it's always been a little frustrating with the pacing, I would say. But for the most part, it's still the same, except for post DLC with these enemies breaking all the time. And then you're going to have deaths like this more often. Like I said, I know this was very much a rambling style video. Hopefully I laid out my thoughts in a somewhat coherent manner that you guys can tag along here, follow along. But all in all, the DLC is, unless you are really, really, really craving more Risk of Rain 2, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. You can get the same exact experience out of Risk of Rain 2 just playing the vanilla game. I don't see what the DLC adds that you don't already have. That's the whole point of the DLC, right? Is to give you new stuff, give you enough new stuff to justify the price, and you want to buy it. For a lot of Risk of Rain 2 players, I don't think it's the case. And let's look here. How many copies has it sold? Let's just go by the reviews alone. So we have 5K reviews on the DLC total. And if we look at Risk of Rain 2, as a whole, it has 158,000. Even if you just go by recent reviews. So the base game has about 1.2K reviews. The DLC has about 32 reviews. It's a pretty big discrepancy, right? So it just goes to show that there are a whole heck of a lot more people that play Risk of Rain 2 than bought the DLC. Obviously, it's going to be true for any game. But I'm just trying to show the point here that this was a wildly successful video game, and the reviews are positive. The DLC is not bad, don't get me wrong. You'll definitely get your money out of it if you're a super Risk of Rain 2 fan, which I would imagine almost all of these 4,199 reviews are super Risk of Rain 2 fans, right? You're going to get your money out of it. But for the average Risk of Rain 2 player, the guy that just boots it up like once a week, a couple times a month, it's not really worth it. So if you're that player, there you go. There's my thoughts on the DLC. Hopefully this helps you out. If you're a console player and you're really, really, really looking forward to the DLC, you'll probably enjoy it. Hopefully it's not bugged out. Hopefully you have a good port of the DLC. I really, truly hope you guys do once Gearbox finishes it up. But for the most part, I'm kind of frustrated with the DLC. I just wanted to... It's been kind of festering in me for a while, so I wanted to regurgitate all of that, spew it all at you in one video. I know I've been talking about ending the video for a while. I'm just getting in the video. All right. I'm just getting in the video. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.